Good morning all. Welcome to our 7th, I think it is, VTV. And this morning we have Sharon with us, Sharon McGuire. She'll introduce herself in just a moment. But until then, just a quick few housekeeping points. Remember to use your question and answers button down the bottom. As always, we'll try and do about 10-15 minutes of questions with Sharon, and then we'll try and answer some of your questions at the end. I was going to say in case of emergency. I don't need to tell you where the fire exits are, right? You just leave. Sharon, introduce yourself to us.
Morena, Luke, thank you very much, and welcome everyone to this fantastic opportunity that Vendella is providing all of us. My name's Sharon McGuire. I'm the Business Development and Quality Manager for the ASURE Accommodation Group. My background has been in over 15 years in tourism, managing 3 properties, and 2 in Nelson and 1 in Hammer Springs, both for heritage and also Accor hotels. I also managed a major tourism attraction in Hammer Springs, the Hammer Springs Thermal Reserve, and previous to that we're in the transport and commerce area, as well as action and education. So I've had a good broad cross-section, and I also contracted BNZ as their chairperson for the top of the south, being Nelson, Marlborough and Tasman. So that's sort of my background. Left school at 15 and learnt on the street, so to speak. Got my degree at 50, so you never stop learning, and that's what's fantastic about the industries that I've worked in, is that they're all people-based, all service-based, and it's all about collaboration and working together. So yeah, that's me, and pretty much enjoying ASURE Accommodation Group and our 40 members that we have throughout New Zealand. So thanks for having me.
No, that's great. Appreciate that, Sharon. So yeah, as you say, you've got a very wide and diverse background. A good viewpoint on what you can bring to us. Just quickly, how long have you been working with the accommodation industry?
Well, I've done in total with the 3 major hotels. I did just over 10 years, and obviously with ASURE Accommodation just in the last year. So I do all the quality inspections of the properties and the business development work for them. Yes.
Yeah. So 10 years, that takes you back to just after the GFC, I suppose.
Yeah, well, certainly pre-opened and opened the Heritage Hammer Springs. So that's, sadly, it's been permanently closed through this COVID situation. So, that's really tough to see. And, for the village of Hammer Springs, it's a bit of a blow, but, you've got to do what you've got to do in these times. Yeah. And with both Rutherford Hotel Nelson and also the Monaco, which is the Grand McGuire, they've been privately owned properties, so that's been really interesting too in terms of private ownership, managed properties, collaboration around marketing, sourcing staff in regions, doing startup businesses. Very good times and tough times that that you've got to go through. So I think the resilience through Hammer Springs and receivership of that hotel and working through that with receivers and then finding new buyers and continuing to work through that, provides a resilience to your nature to get you through things like COVID, actually. Amazing what things challenge you to ensure that in the tough times you can tough it through.
No, we've seen a lot of that, which is good. Sally, I'm still thinking of Sally Atfield from, it's actually the 2nd time I've told you that in the last half an hour.
We threatened sometimes to tie our hair together so we can get, because we've been around about the same amount of time.
Truly, yeah. Sharon, what's your personal view on the state of our industry at the moment?
I'm actually cautiously optimistic. I think for accommodation providers, it's a question of weathering the storm, keeping the costs, stripping back where we can, but particularly in the motel, bed and breakfast sort of area, we've got an opportunity here to stay the course. We need to ensure that we're in touch with our databases and our clients that are regular through the domestic and business travellers, the leisure travellers with the regional tourism organisations of the area. Really important to be in amongst their campaigns, obviously led by Tourism New Zealand's, New New Zealand, come and explore it. For hotels, it's really challenging. Certainly the major hotels are having to make some tough decisions, and I really feel for them. Borders closed. A lot of it would have been relying on international market, group market as well from overseas, and we just have to weather that storm. But for the whole of the industry, particularly with the strategic asset fund that the government have put in place, we've seen that announcement with Whale Watch yesterday. That's critical for Kaikoura, and there will be other areas such as Kaikoura that will need that support. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Once the Trans-Tasman bubble and the South Pacific come on board, that gives the two-way movement around the area. But also it was pleasing to see the Japan flight announced with Air New Zealand once a week up for the business travellers. So once those things start to happen, it will slowly gather momentum. What we can't do at the moment is take our foot off the brake, so to speak, around costs and labour and the needing to investigate the commercial rent dispute situation that's being addressed by the government, and really be on top of our costs and our occupancy and our average rates every day, and making sure that we keep things to a minimum while increasing the revenue base.
That's good. So just on that point, we've seen obviously a big influx over the Queen's birthday weekend and a bit of flow on from that. Do you think, and I don't want to be instigator of bad news, but do you think that we may be it may be a bit of a bubble that we're in at the moment, or do you think that's going to continue on?
I think there's two parts to that question. I think I still don't think people should rephrase that. Generally, I don't believe people have fully appreciated there's still another wave to come, and that'll be when that 8-week subsidy rolls out and then the 12-week ends, and some will or won't qualify for the 40% revenue situation. But we're not out of the woods by any means. What I would say is that Queen's birthday probably did kickstart people to get out to have a bit of a short break because it was a long weekend at a timely point. And the bookings are starting to come through steady. And I mean, we heard from Brad on an earlier webinar, didn't we, around he had no bookings on the Thursday prior and then was fully booked. So a lot of people are opening up with nothing and then finding walk-ins and short-term bookings within 24 hours being put in place. I think going to level 1, we're going to see more of our business travellers reconnecting out there in the regions with their client bases. It's really important if you've got the email addresses or the corporate travel agents to be reconnecting with them, saying, hey, we're open, this is what we've been doing while we've been in shutdown, particularly around hygiene, sanitising, contactless check-in, any of those tools that you may now have, and what you're doing to ensure that they will meet the health and safety standard that may be required from either the corporate agent or the corporate itself. So reconnection is really important, and I think it's more than just an email. It's actually picking up the phone and having that conversation with them and welcoming them back and seeing how their own situation is. There's nothing better than to have empathy between two people to bond that relationship.
No, that's good. I mean, from our part, our team are hitting the road again, and you probably see behind me the office is pretty empty. So we've got 7 salespeople. And so that's, I mean, there's that probably type of thing that people are just starting to actually, businesses are like, hey, we don't actually have to sit at home anymore. We can actually go out, and so that should increase a few bookings. What do you think the new future will look like, and how will it differ from hotels to motels, do you think?
Okay, so the new future is upon us. So for me, it's very much saying we have a good traditional base within motels around retirees or people that like self-contained facilities, might have families, so it's more cost effective for them to come into self-contained facilities, locations, perhaps more space within the motels on ground levels, particularly when you've got families and children, those types of things. So there's a good opportunity to look at who is our next, I call them motel dwellers. So who will be our next wave of guests? It's, as I said to you earlier offline, it's your demographic that we need to encourage into motels. If we look at our traditional bases of putting aside business, they're people that are probably less, they're not restricted by typical work days. They're retirees and they've got more freedom to go around. So this is a great opportunity for motels to be looking, and accommodation providers to be looking at the domestic market of New Zealand, and the platforms that may be needed to connect with those new motel or accommodation dwellers. So, are we portraying ourselves enough on social media? If we're wanting women over 45, we should be all over Facebook. If we're wanting to get our corporate travellers, we should be all over LinkedIn. If we're wanting to connect with companies and people of your age group, we should be looking at what causes do you get up for. So, those things like sustainability, charitable causes, how do we link into that? So, that's to me the new look of motels. And as far as hotels are concerned, they definitely have a place and will have a place for domestic, those that are wanting a spoilt breakaway, who have been in lockdown in a region and want to go to the hub of that region, i.e. in the outer part of Auckland, but want to go into the central Auckland and have a bit of a great weekend. Certainly those are going to be where you need to turn your search engine optimization and search engine marketing around to the domestic market, away from the international potentially. And then looking at your Google remarketing around keywords, and you might have to change those sets as well. So I do think that there will be a great place for both motels and hotels within the domestic market, because each will be offering different things, different price points, different facilities. And it's just a question of working out where your space is in that. So as an independent motel or accommodation provider, that could be a little bit more challenging, and I would really encourage them to be looking at their regional tourism organisation to pick up the assets that they've got around videos and campaigns and free listings, and getting onto that to get the visibility up in the market.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned video on there, because it's probably one thing that a lot of my demographic, if you like, consume is a lot of video content.
Correct.
Sitting there and reading text is I was going to say old school, which I still enjoy reading, but I would far rather consume video content, which is always really interesting. As soon as you go onto someone's accommodation page, if there's video, you always watch it.
Yeah. It's like having a 360-degree view of your rooms, rather than just some photos. I mean, you can have both, but it's all about affordability, and I understand that. So for me at the moment, that's where I'm hunting video all the time from regional tourism organisations, going onto Tourism New Zealand's site, looking at all the collateral you can actually take down for free. So it costs you nothing. Sharing and liking the local RTOs like Central Otago's page, or South, or whoever it is, and making sure that you've got that connection with them so that you get the likes, and so on and so forth. And I think too, Luke, can I just say, for the people that are on this webinar, is feel the fear and do it anyway. I mean, I'm 60. I have come through from working from 15 to 60. I've come to a mainframe computer to now working on a portable device Surface. You never stop learning, and it's about actually just giving it a go. You can't do anything wrong. There's always Control-Alt-Delete, isn't there? So just be brave is what I would say to the people on the call. Be brave, give it a go. Go and find your 22-year-old neighbour or grandson, or someone from Polytech, or your niece, and get them to show you how to do it. It's not hard. It's just being brave. Yeah,
I like what you say there, because we shoot a lot of video here, and if anyone on the call hasn't been to, feel free to visit our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of video there, and for us, when we first thought, okay, we're going to do a lot of video, we first thought, okay, it's going to be horrendously expensive, because video is typically quite expensive. I put out a message on Neighbourly, and a 15-year-old high school student applied. And he does incredible video, does all the editing after school, and he charges us $18 an hour. Our videos roughly cost us around $200. We've used professional companies, and for a 2-minute video, anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000, and this guy's $200, and they're brilliant. And it's just a 15-year-old school student. So if we can do that, then anyone on this call can do that. There'll be someone there.
And look, we've talked about regional tourism organisations. Go and talk to your local Polytech and local Institute of Technology. In their arts and graphic IT area, they have got some superb students, both young and mature. and they have to do an applied part of their learning. So this is an ideal opportunity for them to get something for their portfolio and to benefit the business and make that local connection. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity out there, and as Alberta said, you know, we all do it on our phone. So invest in a good phone, and you can do it yourself. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we strayed quite well from our topic then, but that's fine. How do you see the expectations of domestic travellers differ from that of an international guest?
Kiwis by nature, and you might be a little bit younger for this sort of type, but we talk about number 8 wire. So we like to do things ourselves. We like to go exploring, and I think that's where motels play a vital role. We are self-contained. People can chill out in them and you know, spread out and don't feel like they've got to be immaculate to go down to the reception or whatever in some of the, you know, the more rated hotels, if you like. So I think for motels, this is a great opportunity with the domestic traveller and the Kiwis to really connect with who you are. So anyone who is the owner or manager or the persons that are the front people of the business, but importantly too, the people that are doing the cleaning and presentation of the rooms, tell your story about who you are, that you are Kiwi, that you are Kiwi owned. You may be of different ethnicity, but you're still Kiwi. Therefore, the ability to welcome people and say kia ora and be part of this fantastic country called Aotearoa is really important, and that's where the domestic Kiwi will really respond well to that. And the other thing is there's a real swell of wanting to support these businesses through winter. So what you would spend in summer, we're all looking to say, well, instead of hunking them down in winter, we want to go somewhere. Who's going to tell us where to go? So how do you get that message out into the market? So if you're in Taupo, you've got 10 town cities within 3.5 hours driving distance. So where would you get the bulk of those people coming from? Is it Auckland or is it Tauranga? You know, where would you want to position yourself to get that domestic market? Pick one or two and go for it, and just really bombard the messages out there through the social media platforms, but also your previous database. Now, I can't stress enough how databases are really critical at this time to be working on.
And do you think being domestic travellers, well, I know for myself, when I travel, like if we're going to go to Queenstown or Wanaka, right, you've basically got a few attractions that you're going to tick off, and you think that you've done that region. Whereas I just found out just last week or the week before that there's a waterfall abseiling thing in Wanaka, and they've had to employ more guides because the domestic market want to go there. I never knew it was there, and it's some like world attraction that people come from far and wide to go. So I think one thing I've picked up is potentially now we're targeting Kiwis. We probably actually need to find those little gems, because if you go to Hamner Springs, right, you're going to go to the springs or the pools, but there's probably so much more that people don't know about.
Yeah, I think this is where on your own platform, but also working with the RTO, find those gems that are almost undiscovered. Kiwis by nature, we like to get outdoors. We like walks, we like cycleways, of course, and we also like exploring. And we want, with families, somewhere where the kids can walk and be safe, etc. So, you know, in Nelson, it might be the Brook Waimarama Sanctuary. As you say, you found something down in Wanaka. Lake Dunstan have just had their cycleway extended around Cromwell and the Heritage Trail area. So those are the things, rather than the typical things that we hear about. You know, we know that there is bungee jumping. We know that there is jet boating. We know that we can go Black Cave water rafting. What are the things in your area that you really enjoy doing? And how do you want to tell that story? And also, this is the time on your website, just to make sure that you haven't got historical things. So you might have had a Hobbiton up there, for instance, and that's great. We still want to see that supported. But what else could you do in that area of Hamilton or Matamata? And there's heaps of things to do, like the world's, I think it's Gardens of the World in Hamilton. It's just a fantastic place to go to. The tea plantation in Hamilton, again, you know, something that people don't even know that perhaps is there. So how do we put that forward to our Kiwi people, and how do we actually encourage the regional tourism organisations to be telling that story as well? Yeah, very much find the story, tell the story, show people who you are.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. We've come through to 20 minutes past 10, Sharon. A question for you. What's one thing that you've changed since March the 20th, which was the week before lockdown?
Contactless check-in. So, there's nothing like a bit of pressure to accelerate thoughts and technology. So we now have the ability to have contactless check-in, and that's a huge step forward, both for the security and safety of our guests coming, but also of our people in our front office teams throughout. And then we've noticed particularly people have been asking around, and this will be interesting for Vendella, they're wanting to make sure that we may not have bedspreads, but triple sheeting because of hygiene factor. Things like with the contactless check-in, that means when we're doing RFPs for the corporate agents, etc., they're asking about health and safety protocols, and that is one of them that's coming through. So that would be the biggest single thing we've done. But importantly, it's been about our people. So reaching out, using our own intranet facility, making sure our members know exactly the latest information, where to find it, how to support them, talk to them about their business, talk about cash flow, just really being interactive, not just sitting there receiving the issues they may be facing, being front-footing it. That is the key thing. And I think that will be what businesses need to do right throughout this period and into next year, is front-footing everything. Be up front with your bank, be up front with your guests, with your tenants, be brave, look for opportunity to work collaboratively, and then, sort through all of those things and find out the one key thing that you can do to make change. And for us, contactless check-in was very helpful. Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah. That's a great rounding statement, coming from someone who has great wealth of knowledge, good history, and fingers in hospitality, accommodation, banks. Good rounding statement there, Sharon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So we've come through to 22 minutes past, so it's about time to wrap up. Any closing comments from you, Sharon?
I would just certainly encourage people to think about their own individual situation and whether they could actually work collaboratively, become part of a wider group. I'm not pushing ASURE particularly, but there is that visibility factor that is really going to be needed, and it is harder when you're an independent to get the visibility because your traditional bookings may not be there. So I think it's really key that you think about how could I work collaboratively with one or more, or a different way of positioning my business to get that cut through in the market, because whilst we want to support our hotels, we also know that they are also hunting for business. So hotels and motels have got this, I guess, this marriage that sometimes, it can be a little bit rubbing, if you like. So we want to make sure rates are, quite key. But yeah, the visibility factor, I think, is the key thing at the moment that all properties need to be thinking about. And how do I get the best bang for my buck to get that visibility? That's
Yeah, that's great. Well, that gives us a lot to think about. There's good many people on the call today, so no doubt everyone will be doing a bit of research. Go back over, so everyone on the call gets a copy of this video recording. You'll get it through this afternoon, so that will give you the chance to go back and go over some of these points that we've covered. But to you, Sharon, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, appreciate your insights. We've taken a slice out of your day, but hopefully we've provided some value to all our listeners. And a reminder, this time next week, same place, different face, some more insights into this wonderful industry we're a part of. But till then, thank you, Sharon. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
And we'll see you again.
Yeah, no,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.